Welcome back to Kinsey Performance and Tuning. What are we working on today? Well, we have a 2009 Pontiac G8. It is a 6-liter automatic car, basically a 4-door Camaro. If you haven't messed with one of these before, they're a fun car stock. Customer brought it in and he would like a long tube header setup put on it. He purchased it on eBay, so it'll be interesting to see kind of how that works out, fitment, all that. I'll get it out and take a look at that and show you what it comes with. Also going to be just dumping the transmission fluid and replacing that, since it's got, I think, around 140,000 miles on it. And then from there, I'm going to tune it with HP tuners. We'll be doing a street tune on it, and you can follow along. So here's what he got. Brand name is Manzo. Like I said, it's off of eBay. He did get an oxygen sensor extension. He thought he ordered 2, but he thought maybe only the driver's side needed the extension. I guess we'll find out about that. So looking at them, they look pretty decent. I've seen better welds, but I've seen a lot worse ones as well. They look like a coated header. I'm not even sure the size. He did send me the link, and maybe I can look that up and put the specs on here. You know, so far it's got really nice thick flanges on it, which you can see. Like I said, welds look pretty decent. For those that don't know, Pontiac G8s don't require a special Y pipe. I asked him when he sent me the link, I'm like, did you get the Y pipe with that too? And he said, no, I don't think it needs one. And so that's news to me. But these should hook directly up to the mid pipes and bolt up. It does have the you know, factory style seal here. They're already on there. Obviously bungs for the oxygen sensors, pre-cat O2s. He said these factory gaskets, not these, and I would agree with him. I will probably get a set of GM gaskets because they're good quality stuff and they tend not to leak, and I'll probably get some GM bolts as well for it. We do have one anyway, broken exhaust manifold bolt on the back corner there, if you can see it. So that'll be potentially fun to get out. Might have to weld a nut on it. The rest of them are there, but we'll see if they come out or not. So the first step is get the plug wires off, which I was able to do. Next step is to get those off. That's what that's for. So I got all of the exhaust manifold bolts out except for that back one, which was obviously broken off already. Of course, hardest one to get to, passenger side rear. The rest of them did come out with some persuasion. They're all ready. The manifolds are ready to come out with the cats from the bottom, so that's the next step. So initially I was happy to see the header flanges, and they're pretty thick, which will help them to not deform and deflect and leak. But I was concerned maybe that the factory exhaust manifold bolts, which I will be getting new GM ones, would not fit potentially. But after getting them off and looking at it, it's only about 5/100ths thicker than the stock manifolds, so nothing even to worry about. They'll be just fine. They were difficult to get apart. I had to cut them with a torch, and I believe these are threaded on the cat side. There's not much left of them, but you can see some thread here, and I think they're threaded on that side, and maybe somebody tried to take it apart at one time, and it looks like they had welded the bolts back in because maybe they stripped the threads. So they're kind of a nightmare to cut out and get apart, but whatever, they're apart now. Next thing I'm going to do is work on getting that back bolt out and hopefully I can weld a nut on there and get it out. So after several tries of welding, I was able to get on the stud and actually get it to penetrate the bolt enough, and was able to back it out. It was actually broken off about 3/16 into the head, and so it was kind of a challenge, but it did end up coming out. I ordered exhaust manifold gaskets, as I said. The ones that came in the kit, neither one of us are wild about, the customer or I, and so we're going to go with the regular GM MLS gaskets and GM bolts. So got them from the dealer I used to work at, and next step is bolting the headers on. A couple of things I wanted to mention. The GM gaskets are labeled down, you can hopefully see that, and manifold side, so you can't get them on wrong as long as you follow the directions. Got the driver's side header in. It was tight getting it past the steering shaft, but it did go without having to pull the shaft off. I put it up from down below and then came up here to line up the gaskets and the bolts. Torque them, start in the middle. I started at 11 foot-pounds and then alternate from the middle going out each side. And then second pass to 18 foot-pounds is what I'm torquing them to. That's what the GM spec says with the bolts. And do it several passes because they will, as they tighten up, you'll actually get a more even seal with the header. And then also, once I've run it and done the heat cycle and stuff, I'll come back and torque them again because they will loosen up actually a little bit after a first drive cycle, just to make sure they're tight. And you don't want leaks, especially not with fuel injection, and getting extra oxygen past the O2s is not good. Headers are on, they're all bolted up and torqued down. I've got the driver's side O2 harness extension on there because of the different location of the driver's side O2. They actually lined up pretty well to the mid pipe, and so it wasn't too bad to get them on. They bolted right up. They came with the seals, like I said. The passenger side is close enough where I believe they said they don't need an O2 extension, which looks about right, because that's where it is in the collector, and the harness pigtails up there. So I need to get new oxygen sensors. That's one thing I said I was going to do, because they're 140,000 miles on the car and they're original to it, so we're going to replace them. We're also going to replace the plugs so that we've got good plugs in it for tuning, and that's the next step. One thing to note, when I got it back together here on the passenger side, the dipstick did not fit. It was so close to the header, nothing would line up. I ended up bending the dipstick tube in 2 different places with a tubing bender, which actually worked. I ended up cutting the bracket off of the tube itself and then re-welding it on a different position. And then, as you can see, I used a nut for a spacer against the head. And there, I'll show you down below in the tubing bender. This is the tubing bender I used. And going underneath, you can see now all the space between the header, which is great. And it is seated in the block there as well. As you know, the long tubes are on it, and you heard the cold start. I did one initial log. I didn't record any of that with HP tuners. Got that pulled up. Starting the MAF tune, so I've got everything set up for that, so it's only running off the MAF. I've got my AEM 30-300 wideband that I'll be tuning off of, and I've got it in the driver's side collector, like my hood prop. Make sure that when you're doing some tuning, especially when you're pulling the initial tune out of it and doing longer programming, that you have a stable battery charger on it that has no AC ripple. This one is a PowerMax converter from PowerMaxConverters.com, and this thing, I did get the one that would, this thing will kick out 100 amps if necessary and keep no AC ripple. Very stable power source. You don't want to break an ECM. So, tuning process starts today. I'll see if I can record some of that. So unfortunately I wasn't able to get a lot of video. I don't have the greatest mount for the GoPro yet. Hopefully you can see this okay. Pretty much done with MAF tuning here. I did about probably 8 or 9 different logs and got it dialed in pretty close. Down low after the long tubes it was a little rich, whereas up top it was lean, in some cases up to 10, 12, 15% lean in a couple spots higher up. So I've got my MAF histograph worked up here, and this is kind of the final one here. You can see most of them. The negatives here is where it's pulling fuel, which means it was rich, which is what I would rather see. Or not pulling fuel, but it's showing that it's richer than what the what it's commanded, which is good. Right now I've got it in wideband feedback only, and that's what the error graph is here. So it's telling me what the difference is between what the EQ ratio is that the engine is commanding at any given time and actually what the lambda value EQ ratio is from the wideband, and this gives the error of it up here in this chart. So you can see as you scrub through it, most of them are within 1.02% basically at the most, and you can see most of them are rich, which show the negative numbers, which I'd much rather be that way than not. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to move on to virtual volumetric efficiency tuning next. I did a bunch with torque management already, virtual torque tables, power enrichment, stuff like that. I wanted to show you guys basically what I was doing for the MAF sensor tuning portion of it. Basically you eliminate the oxygen sensors from the equation, especially if you're using a wideband versus short-term, long-term fuel trims, which I always do. I've got a AEM 30-300 that's being logged here that you can see. This is the commanded equivalence ratio. That's what GM uses. I'm tuning in lambda, so you can see my wideband over here as well currently. So basically you set up a histogram tuning in frequency, hertz, for the MAF sensor, and basically what you're looking at here then is a chart where for your MAF curve and a given frequency, the fueling difference between what you're actually seeing on the wideband for lambda and what your equivalence ratio commanded is, and it gives you a difference. Basically you can think of it as a percentage. So kind of after about, I don't know, this was about 8 or 10 runs into it, different amounts of logging and stuff, driving conditions, This is kind of where we're at right now. It's, as you can see as you scrub through, negative numbers mean it's actually richer than what the wideband is seeing richer than what's commanded, which is a good thing. I'd rather see that richer than leaner, the error. So it's all pretty much within up to 2%, and a lot of it is a lot closer than that, which is good.